I think schools have a huge role to play in how students feel about themselves and how they experience the stress around them. Given that children spend most of their waking hours in school, I think the climate that a school provides and the way that teachers interact with students creates an atmosphere that allows students to either feel comfortable or quite stressed out. So if I were to talk about a school that is friendly towards mental health or that understands mental health, students do feel a lot more acknowledged, they feel understood, they feel that people respect them for who they are, and they're likely to be able to work harder academically, they have better friendships, they probably understand where they stand in the world, they have a sense of community. Yeah? But there are some schools that tend to influence or impact negatively the mental health of a student. I think these are schools where academic pressure is very high. So students do tend to feel that they have to perform in order to be valuable people in the school, and if they're not performing academically, then they're not of value to the school. And that goes on to shape how they feel about themselves. So if they've constantly felt that they're not performing well enough, possibly due to challenges that they're having, they tend to feel that they are not worthy, and that I think then goes on to detrimentally affect their mental health, not just in school but even outside of school, because they don't feel very good about themselves. I think schools also influence mental health in terms of how they act on things like bullying, which is again very rampant in schools. So if schools notice bullying, have a zero tolerance towards bullying, students feel equipped to actually reach out for help if they need it, or you have other students helping a student out when they require it. But in schools that tolerate bullying or that don't condone it and don't actually act on it, it influences how an individual feels in the environment of the school. Yeah? So a teacher who watches bullying going on may actually negatively influence a child's situation at that point. So it has long-term effects on an individual's social skills, how they interact with others around them, how equipped they feel to actually stand up and ask for help. Yeah? And I think bullying also goes on into cyberbullying now a lot. And if schools don't address it and don't act on it, there is a lot of harm that's being generated to students, and they have higher rates of depression, there's self-harm that happens, they don't know where to go very often. And usually children and adolescents sometimes try to protect their parents of the difficulties that they're going through, and schools need to allow for children to come up and talk to them, because that should be a safe space where they can talk about what's going on with them. So if a child feels like he or she can't talk at home, and there are a whole lot of bunch of issues that they can't address in school either, they're just feeling very boxed in, and it affects how they can attain the goals that are important in that developmental milestone stage. Yeah? I think in schools where stress is high, so if teachers use punitive ways of correcting behavior or harsh punishment, again students begin to feel misunderstood and they're not heard. And when they're not heard, students often don't know what's going on within them as well. And there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of distress, and they don't know what to do with those emotions because they're not taught to deal with them. Yeah? So I think otherwise schools that talk about mental health or address it also get students to feel that it's okay to have difficulties. So if a school does not do that, then they're alienating children. Children feel that their difficulties are just something wrong with them rather than a part of development. And again, they find it very hard to accept what's going on with them. And then there's always a distance from their own thing. And often I feel that children then reach out to each other if they don't have support in school. And in reaching out to others, I think there are often a lot of unhelpful coping strategies that students resort to. So they turn towards substances or they turn towards self-harm as ways to handle it because they haven't reached out to an adult who can help at that point.